I am your teacher, Mr. Pacitti, and this is my classroom here in Cleveland, Ohio. So put away your mobile phones, put away your WWE 2K19, 2K20 streams starting this evening. It's time to concentrate, it's time to study. This is Raw, and this is Graded. We are kicking things off, woo, with the WWE Hall of Famer, woo, the styling, woo, profiling, woo, the nature boy, woo, it's Ric Flair. So Skeletor makes his way to the ring. He is here to announce the 5th man on Team Flair for that 5-on-5 match at Crown Jewel next week, and that man is none other than Drew McIntyre. Anyway, we have a match. Drew beats up Ricochet for a little bit, and then Ricochet makes a brief comeback. He drop kicks Drew's legs on the apron. That was cool. Then does some flippy doos. We go to commercial. We come back from commercial, and Drew is in control, having grounded Ricochet once again. There were a few really cool moments in this match. Drew with the super strong style Irish whip, throwing Ricochet into the corner. Ricochet selling it like a complete nutter, flipping upside down. And then Drew later on with the Razor's Edge buckle bomb. That was class as well. And then Ricochet kicking out of Drew's big sit-down powerbomb. All great moments. Later on, Drew kicks out of a shooting star press. The crowd are really hot for this match at this point. Fast forward a little bit. Drew nails the Claymore. Ricochet loses. Drew wins. Welcome back, Drew, once again. This gets a B+. I thought the match was really fantastic. A hot way to start the show. And I'm glad that they kept the promo segment quite short because, let's face it, Flair was just... It was nonsensical rambling for the most part, and I actually think it sort of harmed Drew's return a little bit because when he came out, Flair had introduced him so poorly, and even commentary were just like, oh, it's Drew. After the match, Drew batters Ricochet just a little bit more for the lols, nailing him with a hammerlock DDT and then dragging him outside and hitting him with like a reverse Alabama slammer on the ring steps. I don't know what to call it, but it was bloody cool. Drew looked like a nasty, nasty beast of a man last night, and fingers crossed after all of this Team Flair versus Team Hogan stuff is out of the way, it leads to a big singles push for Drew because he's so bloody good. He's got everything he needs to be a main event player if they just let him. Next up, we get a moody Aleister Black promo, and then he comes to the ring for the challenge of his pissing life. He is taking on Jason Roberts, who looks like a cross between Bobby Roode and Mojo Rawley-ish. He's a jobber. Jason starts getting kicked and kneed and slaps, and then manages to get in a bit of offense. Sure. Anyway, he gets kneed in the face and then black mass. It's all over. 1, 2, 3. Aleister Black picking up the win. This gets a C-. I said it last week. I'm saying it this week. I'll probably be saying it next week too. Aleister Black needs something proper to do. He's had the call-up. He's had the creepy vignettes. He's had squash match after squash match after squash match. The guy needs a feud. He deserves a lot more than this. This was just another reminder that WWE don't seem to have any real plans for him, and that's very frustrating. Next up, it's time for the King's Court, and Jerry Lawler's guest tonight is none other than Cucky Rusev. Cucky Rusev comes to the ring. He gets a pretty decent pop, actually. The crowd are super behind him here, and Jerry Lawler wastes no time in asking, how does it feel when you see the dastardly behavior of Bobby Lashley and your wife, Lana? And Rusev goes, it's very clear that Bobby Lashley has poisoned the mind of Lana. She's a good egg, and I'm still wearing my wedding band. Is that finger? I can't do it. He's still wearing his wedding band because he hopes that they will live happily ever after. Oh. Rusev is then interrupted by Bob and Lana, who appear on the Tron. They're in a fancy restaurant. Lana is dressed seductively, and she's feeding Bob cream. Anyway, Rusev is understandably all pissed off, but he knows exactly where they are, and he is coming. He runs up the ramp. Run, Rusev, run! They're already on dessert. He's already eaten the cream. We'll get back to it in a bit. Andrade versus Sin Cara is up next. We've not actually seen Sin Cara on our screen since that 51-man battle royal all those months ago at Super Showdown, so welcome back, Sin Cara. 2 returns on Raw tonight. I know which one I'm a little bit more excited for. Humberto Carrillo is watching this match backstage, teasing a future Carrillo versus Andrade feud, which I'd be all for sure. Some cool moments here too. A great moonsault to the outside by Sin Cara. Later on, he nails a Hurricane Rana over the top rope onto the mat. That was wonderful, but Zelina Vega hits Sin Cara with a Hurricane Rana of her own. Sin Cara gets back in the ring, gets locked, hammerlock DDT, Andrade picking up the win, and a B in the process. The match was pretty good, and even though this was Sin Cara's return match, I actually think this is the right result because, well, Andrade's just better, isn't he? The Sin Cara experiment was botched a long time ago, and the crowd's lukewarm reaction to him last night is a testament to that. However, as I say, I am excited by an Andrade-Humberto Carrillo feud because whoever comes out on top of that one, if they're given time, both of those guys could really stand out, really make an impact because they're going to be great together. Quick Street Profits promo. They will be in the main event tonight with a mystery partner. Who could that be? Hold your horses. It's time for some 24/7 shenanigans. So backstage, Truth is creeping around trying to protect his 24/7 title when he bumps into Singh. Those two get chatting, which leads to Sunil Singh rolling Truth up and becoming the new 24/7 champion. Later in the night, Truth tries to get his belt back, but pins the wrong Singh brother because they all look the same to him? This gets a C. I'm actually really glad to see the Singhs being used a little bit on TV because I think they play the comedic foil role really well. However, the 24/7 division, if you want to call it that, appears to now just be roll up after roll up after roll up. It feels like it's lacking any real thought or creativity, and I think they could just be doing so much more with that belt than they are doing now. The new Raw Tag Team Champions, the Viking Raiders, are out next in non-title action. They are taking on the team of Curt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Who do you think is going to win this one? It was Hawkins and Ryder. I'm just kidding. I've done a joke. That was a funny. Once again, some cool moments here. I especially liked Rowe powerbombing Hawkins into Ryder and Hansen's dive to the outside. I know their names. I know which one's Eric and which one's Ivar. I'm just being stubborn. Anyway, to cut a long story short, after a valiant effort by the Edgeheads, Curt Hawkins gets nailed with the Viking experience and the Viking Raiders pick up the win. This gets a B. Might sound generous, but I actually quite like the idea of the Viking Raiders tearing through the entire Raw Tag Team division before some proper competition in the form of AOP step up to the plate. I truly believe that the Viking Raiders and the Authors of Pain are two teams who can inject some much needed credibility into the Raw Tag Team scene. Do not let me down, Vinny. Oh, back to the beautifully lit restaurant, which is definitely a real restaurant and not a set, and Bob and Lana are sat there. They're being asked to leave by the restaurant's proprietor because he's gotten word that Rusev is on his way to the restaurant right now, and there he is! Rusev trashes the tables, he gets his hands on Bobby Lashley, but is very quickly restrained by some very conveniently placed police officers who I guess were just enjoying a nice meal out. Maybe the restaurant owner let him know that Rusev was coming. Maybe the restaurant... That makes sense. That sort of makes... Anyway, I think Rusev's arrested. This gets a C. I know it's a crap storyline. You know it's a crap storyline. Rusev knows it's a crap storyline. Lana knows it's a crap storyline. Bobby Lashley is just happy to be on TV. But the only reason that I'm giving this a C is because of Rusev's performance here. When he was going after Bob in the restaurant, he actually brought some real intensity to the table, which he then pushed over. And also, earlier in the night, he managed to stop a what chant. Jerry Lawler was getting watted by the crowd, and he just went, hey, come on guys, it's a WWE Hall of Famer, and shut them up instantly. Good job. If all of this nonsense leads to one match, just one match, where Rusev wins clean and then moves on to bigger and better things, then it will all have been worth it. I think. Rey Mysterio is out next. His arm is in a sling. He's here to hype the match between Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel, but also to thank the WWE Universe for their outpouring of love, both before and after little Dominic got battered. Rey says we all get to celebrate when Cain Velasquez wins the WWE title, beating Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. Yay! And adds another scar to the face of that bastard Brock Lesnar. Rey Mysterio bringing out the big guns. Bastard. Heyman then appears on the Tron, says that Brock's not here tonight because he's a SmackDown superstar. See how long that lasts, eh? Anyway, he says for the last 9 years, every morning, Brock Lesnar has looked in the mirror and seen that scar that Cain Velasquez carved into his face, and Brock Lesnar wants revenge. in a predetermined sports entertainment contest. Rey then bloody loses it and goes, "No, you get this through your big, thick head," and says some stuff in Spanish which I didn't understand, and then is interrupted by Shelton Benjamin. Okay, Shelton's pissed off because Cain Velasquez has gotten a WWE title shot because Rey's kid got beaten up. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's totally right. That's a totally fair criticism. Voice of the voiceless, Shelty B here, and Rey's like, no, it's a family thing. What? Shelton says he's got family too, and that family is Brock Lesnar. He trained Brock, he roomed with Brock, and then he starts shoving Rey Mysterio, going, oh, there's a US title opportunity. Oh, there's an IC title opportunity. All wonderful stuff. Great performance as well by Shelton Benjamin here, but then out comes Cain. So Velasquez walks out to the crappiest, most generic YouTube audio library music that you've ever heard, and then he starts manhandling Shelton Benjamin, and Benjamin taps out and then gets out of the ring. That's your lot. It may sound like I didn't like it, but for what it was, I actually did like it. This one gets a B+. Very few wrestlers can cut a sincere sounding babyface promo like Rey Mysterio can. You believe every single word he says. Paul Heyman was great because he's Paul Heyman, and then Shelton Benjamin, even though he had a pretty reasonable point regarding Cain Velasquez and his WWE title shot, he still managed to come across as a total dick, so the payoff made sense and it worked for me. Essentially, with Brock not being there and Heyman, I think, being pre-recorded, I couldn't quite work it out, I think WWE did the best with the limited resources that they had available to them last night. However, I do hope that Brock and Cain get physical one more time before Crown Jewel, hopefully on SmackDown, because SmackDown is where Brock Lesnar lives, and those two brands are apart. Paul Heyman said it, his words, not mine. Backstage now with Seth Rollins, who's doing his hammy acting stuff. He's all like, once you step into the ring with the Fiend, you're never quite the same again. And then he spots Humberto Carrillo, who's watching on the sidelines, and he's like, yeah, I burned down the Firefly Funhouse, and I'd do it again, and I heard what you were saying about me earlier in the night, so let's have a match right now, Rollins, Carrillo, yeah! And this match played out exactly as it should have. A super competitive match between two guys who have tremendous chemistry together, even if the audience weren't into it at all. They were really slaughtering Rollins last night, big "We Want Wyatt" chants throughout. Humberto with some great aerial offense, kicking out of some of Seth's biggest moves, the crowd very much behind Carrillo throughout this one, and WWE, I think, are onto a real winner with Humberto Carrillo. They've been looking for somebody to replace Rey Mysterio, somebody who will appeal massively to the Hispanic market, and I think they finally found it. They tried it with Del Rio, they tried it with Sin Cara, but there's something just so believable. He's just a great underdog babyface, and I think he's going to go far. There is an amazing moonsault by Humberto. Seth kicks out, so Humberto goes up for another one. However, Rollins has him scouted, gets the legs up, and then ends up nailing him with the curb stomp to pick up the win and a B+ in the process. Really enjoyed this match, seemingly a lot more than the fans in attendance did, though I understand that too. After the match, Rollins rolls back in the ring and extends his hand, a sign of respect. The two shake hands. And that would have meant so much more if fans actually liked Seth Rollins at this point. And I felt sorry for Humberto Carrillo here because that could have been such a rub to get that handshake, but people just do not like Seth. They've got to turn him heel, surely. It's time for the main event, and it's also time for the Street Profits to make their in-ring Raw debut. They come through the crowd. The crowd are going absolutely nuts. Sorry, the WWE Universe are going absolutely nuts for these two. The OC then come out. AJ's got a mic, and he's like, oh, so you didn't find a third man. You haven't got a tag team partner. I guess nobody wanted to watch your back after what we did to you last week. So it looks like we've got a standard tag team match, the Street Profits versus Gallows and Anderson. Even if Dio Madden on commentary did go, well, the night's not over yet, maybe they do have some backup. Way to telegraph things, mate. Pretty standard tag affair here, the OC in control for the majority, beating down Montez Ford. He manages to tag in Angelo Dawkins, and then a little bit later, AJ Styles gets involved on the outside and is thrown out by the referee when all of a sudden, whose music hits? It's not Ricochet, Kevin Owens! So Owens was the third man all along. He stunners AJ on the outside and then sky high in the ring, that wonderful frog splash. The Street Profits are your winners. This one gets a B+. The match was decent, and the Street Profits have been built up in a way that it actually didn't feel weird when they were in the main event of Raw. They feel like a big deal, so props to WWE for that. I should be more excited for an AJ Styles Kevin Owens feud, but I'm not. Thinking back to 2017, they had a lot of matches, and all of the matches, well, they never lived up to our expectations. The chemistry just wasn't there. Hopefully, we're 2 years on, maybe things will be different. Time will tell. Overall, a decent episode of Raw, I thought. This one gets a B-. There wasn't necessarily a standout match, but all of the in-ring action was good to very good, and even the Rusev, Bob, Lana stuff was better than I expected. Although my expectations were very, very low indeed. By the way, before I go, and I hate to have to do this, but please stop making horrible comments about my new moustache, saying I look like a creepy uncle or a paedophile. I didn't like the idea of a moustache either at first, but then it grew on me. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.